So I've heard players say, including myself, I feared Mike. I've heard players in your generation say they feared Kobe. I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron.
The NBA used to be a war zone. It was a place for real men. But today, the so-called king is a man who dances before tip-off and thinks he's the GOAT because he played long enough to break a record Michael Jordan would have smashed in 8 seasons or less if he played in an era like this. Oh, but that's not really what made Shaq lose it. Check this out.
Because the game is different. Like, I want people to understand, and our fans to understand, that playing 82 games in the 80s and 90s is not the same as playing 82 games in the 2020s.
Yeah, he said that. Shaquille O'Neal has finally reached his breaking point. Between the Diddy parties, the feminine outfits, and the absolute disrespect to the legends who bled for this game, Shaq is revealing the truth. And by the time we're done, you'll see how much of a lie LeBron's whole career has been. It's simple. The real fans know what it was like when the NBA was a proper league. The NBA used to be a league of psychological warfare. Men who gave it all they had. And I mean all. It was war every night on the court. But LeBron James has turned it into a high school talent show. For those who didn't see the clip a while ago, check this out.
I'm a goofy-ass 41-year-old kid.
Oh, it gets worse. And get this, the Lakers were fighting for their lives in the standings, and LeBron sat in front of the mic and told the world right after that he's a goofy-ass 41-year-old kid. Seriously? This is the man the media wants to put in the same breath as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant? Shaq didn't just lose respect for LeBron because of the rings, he lost it because your king is more obsessed with being a clown than being a feared player. Think about how he handles pregame. If you were playing the 90s Bulls, you didn't see Mike doing a choreographed shimmy. You saw a man who hadn't slept, smoking a cigar, staring through your soul like he was deciding which part of your career he was going to end that night. If you played Kobe, you got the Mamba stare. That cold, unblinking death gaze that made grown men forget their playbooks. But with LeBron, you get TikTok dances. You get these cringe warm-up routines where he's shirtless, trying to impress cheerleaders in the front row.
This was hours ago here at the arena. LeBron James going through what looks to be a...
Or doing that new Lakers warm-up that looks like a middle school drama club rehearsal.
What even is LeBron James's new warm-up routine? Basically, LeBron throws up the basketball as high as he can, and once it lands, everyone on the team squats with him. And then LeBron just trots off.
Shaq has been the loudest voice on this, and honestly, the big man is just saying what every sane person is thinking. Shaq explicitly said on his podcast, and when you look at those cringe videos, you realize why.
I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron.
To Shaq, the GOAT title isn't a popularity contest. It's about dominance. You can't be the king if everyone wants to be your best friend. In the old days, if a legend saw you dancing before a game, they'd take it as a personal insult. They'd use it as fuel to drop 50 on your head. But LeBron has created this culture where being goofy is a brand. It gets worse when you realize this isn't just personality, it's a lack of presence. Even KG basically admitted the Celtics didn't give a hoot about LeBron back in the day. KG's whole argument was that they broke him in 2010 because nobody was scared of him.
Broke LeBron.
In Game 5.
So get your to him, okay? The media and the league knew that they had an agenda in which we wasn't part of the agenda. You understand? That's how they ended up winning that series. Yeah, I said it. We didn't give a about LeBron. We didn't fear LeBron, and we didn't think that he can beat all 5 of us.
Now compare that with the stories about Jordan's aura. There are literal accounts of players being scared to even check into the game because MJ was on the floor. And what makes it funnier is how fans have been having an absolute field day roasting the new LeBron-forced warm-up routine. It's not just cringe, it's distracting. While his teammates are trying to lock in, the supposed leader of the team is treating the court like a stage for his next viral moment. Shaq's philosophy was always focused destruction. You get to the arena, you break the rim, you go home. You don't stay back to do a 10-minute dance number. This is exactly why the fear factor is 0. You can't be scared of a guy who calls himself a goofy kid after his team literally just lost. When Jordan lost, he was a nightmare to be around for 3 days. When LeBron loses, he's on stage performing with.
She's in
Legends like Shaq don't just hate the stats, they hate the vibe. They hate that the guy who's supposed to be the greatest player of this era has the psychological profile of a teenager. But that's not even what made Shaq finally lose his temper. If you want to know the exact second the Legends officially checked out on LeBron James, it wasn't some missed free throw or a bad defensive rotation. It was in 2016. Right after the Cavs pulled off that three, one comeback, LeBron looked at the camera and crowned himself. He didn't wait for the Legends to weigh in. He just decided he was the greatest of all time.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For
That's
so
what I
many
felt.
reasons.
And that right there just sealed it. In the era of Shaq, Jordan, and Kobe, you didn't proclaim yourself the king. You made everyone else admit it because they were too tired from getting their butt kicked by you to say otherwise. Do you think for 1 second MJ was sitting in a post-game presser trying to convince the media he was the best? No. The actual GOAT was too busy going 6 for 6 in the finals and making sure the entire city of Utah didn't sleep for a week. Kobe Bryant was the same way, 5 rings and 0 self-coronations. But LeBron needs the validation, and he sure as hell needs the marketing. He needs you to see the chosen one tattoo so you don't look too closely at the actual resume. And what gets me pissed off the most personally is how the media loves to feed us this narrative that LeBron James is the greatest to ever do it because his career has lasted longer than a Marvel franchise. They love to tell you LeBron is the all-time leading scorer, but it's basically a participation trophy. LeBron has played 23 seasons to get that record. Michael Jordan won 10 scoring titles in basically 11 full seasons with the Bulls. Let that sink in. LeBron has just 1 scoring title in over 20 years. And if you want to talk about peak dominance, LeBron isn't even in the same category as Shaq. In the early 2000s, Shaq was a cheat code. The man led a three-peat where he was the finals MVP every single time. And don't even get me started on the finals record. LeBron has a losing record on the biggest stage, a literal 22-33 record in individual finals games. Which means when the lights are the brightest, LeBron is statistically more likely to walk off the court with a loss than a trophy. I'm just saying, when it mattered, MJ didn't leave it to chance. He didn't leave it to a decision. And that right there is the real crime Shaq can't forgive. The manipulation. Real legends like Bird, Magic, and MJ stayed in the kitchen until they learned how to cook. They didn't jump ship the second the heat got too high. But LeBron, he turned the NBA into a game of chasing the perfect situation. In 2010, he gave us The Decision, the most narcissistic hour in television history, to go join Wade and Chris Bosh because he couldn't beat the Celtics on his own. When that got old, he ran back to Cleveland because they had Kyrie and the assets to trade for Kevin Love. When that burned out, he hopped a jet to the Lakers to team up with Anthony Davis. Shaq sees this for exactly what it is. A man who didn't dominate the league, but manipulated the front offices to stack the deck. This is why, when Shaq was asked for his all-time starting 5 recently, he notoriously left LeBron off the list in favor of guys like Kobe, MJ, and even Steph Curry. Honestly, the story of LeBron is one of an incredible athlete who played long enough to make the records look untouchable. But the story of Shaq is about a level of peak performance that LeBron never touched. Jordan has 5 MVPs and 10 scoring titles. Kobe had 5 rings and a Mamba mentality that didn't require a PR team to explain it. LeBron has a 4-6 finals record and a habit of changing teams like he's changing sneakers. So, you have to ask yourself, do you want a king who earned it through blood and loyalty? Or do you want a guy who stat-padded his way to a record while chasing every shortcut in the book? Shaq made his choice. He knows that being the GOAT isn't about how many years you can survive in an era as soft as this. It's about how many battles you won when the game was still a war. And by the time we look at the way LeBron treats the legends who paved the way, you're going to see why the King title is nothing more than a marketing slogan. I'm sorry, but can we talk about the absolute brain rot coming out of the Mind the Game podcast lately? In January, LeBron really sat there with a straight face and tried to tell us that playing 82 games today is physically harder than it was in the 90s. His whole argument is pace and space, like running around in an open gym is somehow more demanding than getting your ribs adjusted by a Bill Laimbeer elbow. It's total gaslighting. He's trying to sell this idea that fast equals hard, while completely ignoring the fact that back then, the paint was a literal crime scene. It's a slap in the face to every legend who ever had to survive the bad boy Pistons era. Every legend who had to actually ice their entire body in a bucket of actual ice, just to be able to walk the next day, not LeBron's $100,000 cryo chamber. But trust Shaq to respond. He pointed out that LeBron's longevity is a direct byproduct of playing in a league that has effectively banned defense. Shaq's logic is simple. If the league didn't invent the freedom of movement and flagrant 1-inch rules for a hard screen, LeBron wouldn't be playing at 41. He'd be in a wheelchair. Shaq lived through the hack-a-Shaq era, where you could practically commit a felony in the paint and the ref would just call a common foul. And while LeBron is sitting out a Tuesday night in Charlotte because his metrics say he's at risk for a soft tissue injury, guys like Isaiah Thomas were out here winning rings on one leg. It even gets more annoying when you look at the rule changes that basically gift-wrapped the game for him. The 2004 hand-checking ban and the defensive 3-second rule didn't just help the offense, they deleted the alpha defender. Shaq has said a million times that if he played today with freedom of movement, he'd average 60 points and 30 boards because nobody would be allowed to touch him. But if you think the cringe dancing and the soft era stats are bad, you haven't seen the darkest part of this rabbit hole yet. This is where he lost the respect of the entire league and every legend who ever lived. Because while MJ and Shaq were busy building empires they actually owned, LeBron was busy auditioning for a seat at the LA/Hollywood/celebrity table. Yeah, we have to talk about Diddy. You've seen the clip. I mean, it's 2026, everyone has seen it at this point. That video of LeBron on IG Live, grinning like he just won a chip while yelling, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party," has become the biggest stain on his legacy.
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In the 90s, the alpha stars like Shaq and Kobe kept their circles tight and their business private. They were the ones in control. But LeBron? Bro didn't just attend the parties. He was the biggest hype man for a culture that's now being exposed for freak-offs and humiliation rituals. And that brings us to the photo that literally broke the NBA internet. The maid outfit. I don't care if you think it's a marketing joke or a funny meme. This is a clear humiliation ritual. The fact that the face of the NBA is even connected to that kind of imagery is exactly why Shaq looks at him with pure disgust. Can you imagine Michael Jordan, the man who would gamble his life just to prove he was the alpha, letting an industry mogul put him in a dress? Can you imagine Kobe playing dress-up just to get a movie deal? It would never happen. But it's not just about the parties. It's about how he proudly promoted a culture that actively engaged in activities as weird as Diddy's parties. And honestly, it's something even his biggest fans can't defend. And speaking of the fans, no one has taken the fans for granted as much as LeBron, because he has apparently turned the most prestigious league on earth into a part-time job. Let's get one thing straight. You can't be the king if you're only wearing the crown when the circumstances are perfect. In 2026, we just watched LeBron hit a career low that essentially ends the debate for anyone with a brain. On February 10th, he missed a game against the Spurs for left foot arthritis. So why does that matter? Because it officially disqualified him from all NBA and MVP honors under the league's new 65-game rule. For the first time since 2005, LeBron isn't an all-NBA player. Not because he isn't talented, but because when he's needed the most, he doesn't show up. LeBron has spent the last few years gaslighting us on his podcasts, publicly trashing the 82-game schedule like it's a human rights violation.
But, sometimes if guys are not able to play, the guys are literally not able to play. It's not like we're like shitting on, national televised games.
Seriously? In the 80s and 90s, 82 games meant 82 games, period. You didn't check your biometrics or your soft tissue metrics before deciding to play. You played because that was the job. Think about the level of pain these guys survived. Larry Bird played with a herniated disc so crushing that he had to lie face down on the floor next to the bench just to keep his back from seizing up. Isaiah Thomas dropped 25 points in a single quarter of the NBA Finals while hopping on one leg with a broken ankle. Even Kobe Bryant won a championship in 2010 with a broken index finger on his shooting hand. He didn't ask for a night off. He simply relearned how to shoot. And don't even get me started on Jordan. Michael Jordan played all 82 games in 9 different seasons. 9. At age 40, playing for a Wizards team that wasn't even going anywhere, MJ suited up for all 82 because he felt he owed it to the fans who paid to see him. Jordan's mindset was simple.
First and foremost, I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy. way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket.
And that brings us to the most toxic part of LeBron's brand, the LeBron PR machine. So if you think the legends are just bitter, nah, they aren't. They honestly have no need to. They already achieved enough for themselves individually, so they don't need to be bitter. They're just exhausted. In late 2025, Charles Barkley finally went off on the Bill Simmons podcast and spoke for all of us.
But for him and his guys, if you don't say he's the greatest ever, it's like you could commit treason.
Barkley was essentially calling out the absolute brain rot of modern media. These days, if you point out that MJ has 10 scoring titles in 11 seasons, while LeBron has 1 in 23 years, the LeBron fans treat you like you committed a crime, when it's just the plain truth. Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the man whose record LeBron spent 23 years trying to break, has had enough. Kareem publicly called out LeBron's behavior as embarrassing and beneath him, especially the childish social media posts. When the man who invented the skyhook tells you that you're dropping the ball, it's a wrap. With LeBron, all we can see is a guy who protects his $2 million a year body more than he protects the integrity of the game. You can have the points, you can have the counting stats, but you can't have the respect of the men who actually made this game. But the absolute worst part, the thing that makes the whole conversation feel like a bad joke? Yeah, remember when I mentioned earlier that whenever he's needed the most, he never shows up? If you're an old school fan, 2011 is your holy grail of arguments, and honestly, you're right. This was the first year of the Miami super team. The Heat were heavy favorites, LeBron was in his physical prime, and the world was ready for a showdown of a lifetime. Instead, we got the biggest choke job in the history of professional sports. LeBron didn't just lose, he flunked. Real bad. This guy averaged 17.8 points for the whole of the series, and check this out. In Game 4, with the series on the line, he scored 8 points. He played 45 minutes and went 3 for 11. Can you imagine Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant putting up 8 points in a finals game? You can't, because they'd rather go down swinging than be that passive. He was so bad that he was literally deferring to role players in the clutch. He averaged 3 points per fourth quarter in that series, meaning the man the media is trying to paint as some elite player was being outscored by a 5'10" JJ Barea and Jason Terry. And you want to talk about leadership? Before Game 5, LeBron and Wade were caught on camera mocking Dirk Nowitzki for having a 102-degree fever. They were literally fake coughing in the hallway like middle schoolers. But guess what? Dirk responded and dropped 29 points in Game 5 to lead Dallas to a victory and a 3-2 series lead. The Mavericks went on to win Game 6 in Miami to secure the championship. That's how a true NBA legend responds. But wait, it actually gets worse. This is where LeBron honestly ruined the league for a lot of people. See, the NBA used to be about boundaries and competition and ego. Shaq took things so personally that he'd invent beef just to destroy you. But LeBron has pioneered this buddy-buddy culture where everyone is a brother and nobody wants to hurt anyone's feelings. When you're all hanging out on yachts and drinking wine in the off-season, who are you actually trying to destroy? These days, the competitive edge is dead and has been replaced by brand management. And speaking of brand management, we have to talk about Clutch Sports. Behind the scenes, LeBron has built a narrative management machine that would make even a politician jealous. Through Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, they've created a media shield that protects him from any real accountability. And in 2026, we're seeing this in full effect. Notice how the media angle every single time is, if LeBron wins, he's a genius. If he loses, the script immediately pivots to, he doesn't have enough help, or he's 41, give him a break. Rich Paul has turned player empowerment into player manipulation, moving pieces around the league to make sure LeBron always has a safety net. It's not about who's the best anymore. It's about who has the best PR team to hide the flaws. So in the end, that's why Shaq made his choice. It was never about the points or the longevity. It was about the soul of the game. Shaq doesn't hate LeBron because of his talent. He hates the fact that the most gifted player of this generation chose to be a celebrity instead of being an actual basketball player.